What's going on, guys? This is Frank Chen with REIClub.com. I want to welcome you to our face-to-face interviews with our real estate experts from all around the nation. Who we have here today with us, his name is Jim Banks. He's a probate investing expert, and he's one of the greats. He's been doing this for 30 plus years, and we have a lot of great information to cover today. I told him that here at REI Club, we have quite a bit of a beginners, so we're going to cover some beginner type stuff. We're going to try to touch up on some more advanced things later in the video, and I'm just going to be asking Jim some questions throughout today's interview, and hopefully you guys get a better understanding of the topic, and hopefully we can get you guys interested and potentially broaden your investment portfolio with this potential opportunity. Again, today we're only going to be teaching, and I hope you guys enjoy it. So without further ado, it's my great pleasure to bring on our lovely guest, Mr. Jim Banks. Jim, how are you today?
Fine, Frank. Thank you for having me on today.
Awesome, awesome. So I know you've been, contacting me. I've been so sorry, but we've been so busy. And I know James has been so gracious and following up with us and making sure that he gets on our call and provides you guys with content. So I got to give you all the credit here for getting this set up, Jim. So thank you, thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Absolutely. So, for those, I didn't really give you too great of a bio / intro. So for those who may not know who you are, maybe in just a few words, can you kind of tell people how you got into probates, how you got your start, and, and maybe jump all the way to 30 years later to see what you're doing now?
Well, I graduated from Indiana University, moved out west to Southern California, went to grad school at USC. I was a math major, so when I got out of school, I went straight in the computer industry when there was no money in it. It was the old IBM 360 days. Anyway, I worked there for about 5 years. I met a guy who had become a real estate broker, and he threw me into a deal. And ironically, it happened to be probate, and I made more on it than I was making working in the computer industry. Did a second one like most people. You do one, you say, gee, I'm lucky. The second one, you go, hey, I can do this. And the minute you say you can do something, you actually can.
Right.
So I quit my job. I quit the computer industry and went into real estate full time. Went to law school only to take courses in probate. And I found probate to be the best way to make money in real estate, in my opinion, bar none. And the reason being is if you do it correctly, you can buy real estate where the address is never in print. It's secret real estate. If the guy next to you doesn't know a property's for sale, how can they compete with you? There is nothing like probate. The volume is unbelievable. There are over 7 million unsettled probates in a bucket that never empties. In fact, the bucket is actually getting more full because boomers are dying at greater number than probates are being settled.
Let's touch up on that real quick. We use the terminology probate quite a bit. I know through the grapevine. Let's explain to those who may not understand what probate is. Can you give an idea what probate is, Jim?
Yeah, I'm going to do it a little left-handed.
Okay.
There's a couple of strange words in real estate. One's foreclosure and one's probate. To the beginner, they don't know what they mean. But I think most people know that foreclosure is simply when someone cannot make their loan payments, so the lender forecloses because that's what was used as a security device to initiate the loan to begin. That's foreclosure. Probate is simply when someone passes away. The assets that are left have to be distributed, hence they have to be probated. Right now, Prince, they believe Prince does not have a will. His estate's going to be at least $300 million, and the inheritance tax on that alone will be $146 million.
Oh, wow. So whoever is going to take...
That's before attorney fees.
That's like, so whoever assumes that property, they're going to have to cover that, is what you're saying.
Well, they'll do... Why the estate is being settled, the government will get their $146 million.
Oh, great.
And that's double taxation without representation.
So you're telling me right now, all across the nation, there are people who are going through this exact same process. 7
million unsettled probates at any given. It is the most voluminous way to buy real estate in all of America.
So when we tell you guys, there's a hidden pocket or a hidden inventory, a shadow inventory, the reason why we use that terminology is because, well, frankly, you probably didn't know that it exists or knew that it was that vast in the amount of opportunity. So with that, let's go ahead and clear the air here, Jim. I think one of the fundamental questions, or two of the fundamental things that we hear is, one, people don't even know that much about probate. Two, depending on the experts out there or the type of articles, content, people are just under the impression that probates are incredibly difficult to set up. So let's cover that as our first topic today is, why are people thinking it's so difficult, and how are you going to debunk that for them?
Okay. I'll say it at the beginning and the end. Probate is as difficult as making an omelet.
Oh.
So it's not difficult, but the perception of reality is often greater than reality itself. Because of television and movies, it's believed that everybody who goes to law school knows everything there is to know about law, which is not true. It's specialized, just like medicine. The example I always use is your child falls out of a tree, breaks his arm. Your next door neighbor is a brain surgeon. Do you take the kid to the brain surgeon, or you take him down to emergency? And obviously you take him down to emergency. The law is specialized, and virtually nobody specializes in probate in law school. Just as a matter of fact, 40% of the people who graduate from law school today never go into law. They need it to do business, because the way the world is today, if you're going to make big money, you're going to get sued, and you need a working knowledge of the law. Putting that aside, the perception is it's complicated. If it was complicated, attorneys couldn't do it. There is nothing complicated about probate. But if you walk into a building that's pitch black and you're not a little scared, you're stupid. So it is the fear of the unknown. Right. And I will take everybody through. Like I said, it is no more complicated than making an omelet. It's the perception that it's difficult. So let me get back to very few specialize in it. So the person who is called the attorney of record, who's representing the estate, has rarely specialized in probate. They only have to take one course in college called Wills and Estates, but they did something else. They were personal injury, where the big money is, or they're a corporate lawyer, tax lawyer, trial lawyer, where there's a lot of publicity and stuff. But virtually nobody goes to law school and specializes in probate. So the attorney who's handling this has usually never done this before, or rarely has done it. They want to get back to their cash cow of how they make money. They don't want to be involved in this probate. They want to get it out of the way as fast as possible.
So let me ask you this. You mentioned about attorneys, people studying this. So ideally, as a beginner investor or someone who's never touched probate before, can I do this on my own, or is this something I have to hire a probate attorney to do? What would you recommend?
Okay, for the beginners, I think you already know this. It's like oil and water. Attorneys and real estate investors are natural-born enemies. Rarely will the attorney help investors. Occasionally, but very rarely. I lost track of your question. No, it's okay.
Yeah. So like.
Oh no, they do not. It's very, very easy. Okay. You do not go to an attorney except as last resort. I'll show you how to get what we do. We get started. Like I said, there's 7 million of these. And the one great advantage, especially for the beginning investor, because it's secret real estate and nobody's there to compete with you, you will buy real estate 30, 40, 50, 60% consistently below current fair market value. So the minute you close, you're already sitting on a 30, 40, 50, 60 equity position, as opposed to buying something 5, 10% below market, and you pray that it appreciates. If the beginner is going to go out and flip property, you need to know this. This isn't math. This is arithmetic. The cost of buying and selling and flipping a property is at 15%. We, as in business people, just like retailers, expect to mark our goods up 100%. So if it costs us 15% to flip a property, we need to buy at least 30% below fair market value, so we get 100% return on our investment. We do a lot better than that. Of the Fortune 500 companies, there's not one that gets a 20% return on investment. Number one is banking at 19.6%. We do a lot better than 20% because this is secret real estate. And I believe that this is the last frontier for real estate investors. Nothing's going to come out down the road after probate. It's the best way to buy real estate because if you do it correctly, you have no competition.
So let's touch on something real quick before we get into the nitty gritty of finding probates, kind of setting it up, the whole process there is, there's sometimes a stigma associated with probates, right? When someone dies in a family, is it really right for an investor to come swoop in and, take a property when families are grieving? Is it a really good opportunity to capitalize on such a, sad time in someone else's life? I know that's a common stigma that's attached to probates. What is your opinion on that, Jim?
Well, it is a sensitive time.
Yeah.
But the other side is, if they didn't want to settle, why did they file?
So is this public?
Well, they wanted to sell. They wanted to get and I'm using this literally. They wanted to get their free money.
So is this public record? Is this something that when someone passes away, it automatically gets put into the city records?
Yes. Everything we do is above board. Nothing's under the table. Nothing shady. Everything is public record.
Gotcha. So as an investor, you could go to public records. Is this pretty immediate? Like when someone passes away, is it like within 72 hours or is it like a month?
No.
Or is there a
well, no, here's an indication for the investor. And I'm going to use a guy all the time. If the guy died and 30 days later they filed, then they're really greedy. They want to get that free money.
Oh, wow.
Usually it's a little lengthier than that because they go through some grievancing.
Okay.
But I want to say this much. We are the good guy, not the bad guy. Because the largest asset of the estate, almost without exception, is the house. They have to sell it in order to meet the federal government, the tax returns, the attorney fees, mortgages that may be going on, maintenance of the house, all the other things.
First lien, second lien holder.
So they need the cash. And we bring that cash virtually out of a new loan. It doesn't have to be cash to a new loan. I don't know. Anyway, 35% of the time I found the estates will carry back the mortgage or trust deed. We'll talk on that later.
Okay.
But we are the good guy. We help settle the estate. We bring that time period in. Instead of it taking an average of 3 years to settle, by us supplying cash to the estate, they can bring that down. Ralph Nader did a study about 20 years ago and said 99% of all probates should be settled in 6 months. But they're not, because this is a cash cow for the attorney.
And just random, like a random question on the side is like, have you seen situations where probates have been sitting there for more than 6 months, a year, 2, 3, 4 years? Is there a difference between it sitting there for 6 months versus sitting there for 3 years?
Yes. Ricky Nelson, who probably not many people remember, he had a $750,000 estate, which is very small for Orange County, California. And it took 11 years to settle. And that is baloney.
Is that just because there's just so many people involved in that process?
No.
Okay.
Probate is the slush fund to the judicial system. There is nobody to oversee the estate. So let's say your Aunt Elma dies, and you know the attorney is overbilling you. Well, I'll be honest with you. If your best friend's your attorney through a divorce, he's overbilling you, and he's your best friend. You can imagine what he'd do to a stranger. There is no oversight. This is like a government program. There is absolutely no oversight whatsoever. There is no state probate court. There is no federal probate court. So everything's handled at the county or parish level. And so let's say your Aunt Elma died, and you know the attorney's overbilling. So first of all, you can't prove it because they get their money up front. And how can you verify how many hours they're working? You can't prove they didn't. But even if you could, okay, who would you petition to? The judge? Another fraternity brother? There is no oversight on probate. None. Zero. De nada.
Oh, wow. That's crazy. So, okay, let's go ahead and dive in then, Jim. So let me ask you this. So starting out, someone passes away, offers in public records. Is that the first place to look? Is there a public forum? Is there a public website? Is there a centralized location?
No, there is no website. And unlike multiple listing service, foreclosures, REOs, auctions, tax sales, there is no list of probates. And that's good for us, the investor. That means not everybody and their brother is there killing the deal.
Right.
If you do it correctly, you will be there all by yourself with no competition. Can I use a small example? Because one thing I've left out, every probate has personal property. Every probate has personal property. You see storage wars. Guy can't make his payments. So they cut the lock off, throw the door up. There's 20 people there. They're looking around. They can't touch it or move anything, and they're guessing what they're going to bid on it.
Right.
In my generation, we called that a Cracker Jack box. We hoped that we got a good price. We opened the Cracker Jack box. Yeah, yeah. Okay. Now I want to take you, and they bid. They bid it up to whatever it goes to. Now you're walking into a probate property. Everything in that property is for sale. Everything. And there's one tiny little difference. There's nobody behind you bidding up the price. You're there by yourself. You'll buy cars, antiques, coin collections, baseball cards. If what I leave out, everything a human being owns or possesses is in probate, and you're going to buy it. If you do it correctly, you're going to buy it for 5 to 7 cents on the dollar, and often for free, because they just want to get rid of it so they can sell the house.
That's insane. Yeah, most people go into this thinking they're just buying, potentially just buying a one house versus all the stuff that's under the roof. I never really thought about it that way.
Well, often I have bought. In fact, I had to take a car. The heirs were from a place called Dallas. You may have heard of it.
Oh, yeah.
It was a triplex over in West LA. That car came with it. I didn't want the 200SX, but they were not going to go back to Dallas with any responsibility for that car. So in the deal, they said, and he must take possession of the car. I got the car for free. They just didn't want the legal obligation of bothering with the car.
So they say sometimes when you do acquire these properties, is it, are you ever in a position where you, as the investor, have to settle the estate?
No. We don't have that. No, we have no fiduciary responsibility, and we have no authority.
Okay.
Generically, the person is called the personal representative. In fact, we'll go back to Prince's thing, because this seems to be a real big deal. They've got 6 relatives, and it's the law of succession. And in Minnesota, where he died, everybody who has blood in their veins is a potential heir. So they've got 6 of them. Now, most people refer to the person who heads up a probate as an executor, but technically that's not right. And I'll just do this. If you die with a will and you're a man, you're an executor. You die with a will and it's a woman, it's an executrix. If there's no will, which is Prince's, and you're a man, you're an administrator. And if you're a woman with no will, you're administrix. And it looks like the full sister is going to be the administrix, and she's already requested that a trust department, somebody, which is very smart on her part, she's relinquishing her authority to the trust company.
So otherwise, she would be responsible to figure out who gets what and where goes where.
Well, she still is responsible.
Okay.
Even though she has because this guy's just an agent for them, but she will do the filing of the forms going to the court.
So assuming, like, let's use this like as a current example, an investor comes into the situation, are they going to be dealing with the administrix, or are they going to be dealing with the new trust person who's in charge of it? Like, who does the investor talk to or deal with in a situation like this?
Okay, I'll go back to the generic personal representative. That's the person I want to talk to first.
Okay, and in this case, since using your Prince example, would that be the sister or the person she's...
Yes. It would be the full-blooded sister, because she will be the one that petitions the court to administer the estate. Okay.
So let's walk people through a process, So right now we're assuming that you're finding the property usually through public records, or what would you say?
Yeah, let's just say that. That's fair enough.
And
it's all public record. We do not follow ambulances.
Okay, yeah, I hope not, yeah.
or obituary notices for a number of reasons. Some reasons, some of the reasons are a lot of people don't have anything. So it would be a waste of time to follow either one of those things. No, these are only when it becomes a probate do we pursue it.
Well, something like just the other week, I was driving around in Houston. You see the sign popping up that says estate sale. Is that a sign? Like, he's like a FSBO sign, for sale by owner. Is that similar? Like, okay, this is a house going through probate. They're just kind of selling all the assets, or it's already gone through probate. They're just selling all the stuff after.
Over 90% of the time, estate sale is a garage sale. They just want to make it sound classy.
Oh, gosh. Okay. I almost got tricked then, is what you're trying to say. Okay.
No, that's just marketing.
Okay. Good to know.
But a estate sale would be, if his sister, if she was selling everything, technically that would be an estate sale, because she's selling everything of his estate.
Right. That's what I was under the impression of, but I guess...
No, but anybody can write estate sale on a sign, put a sign on the corner, because it is somebody's estate. Somebody owned it. It's stuff you kept in your garage for 20 years, and now you're getting rid of it. So it is your estate, but you're still alive.
So that's a pro marketing tip for you guys. If you're ever doing a garage sale, just make sure you put the estate sale on there. You'll get investors coming out. You'll get your neighbors. You'll sell stuff like that. Okay, perfect. Okay, so public records. Then you talk to the person in charge. Do you have to have cash on hand? You said there, you could do this through a loan. Like, let's walk through the, what do you have to have ready before you talk to someone like, hey, I'm interested in helping you out here?
Probates are purchased and settled exactly like real estate if you were buying it through the MLS and a real estate broker. And I've been a broker for 35 years. And there's never been a complaint filed against me. And that's very hard to do in today's world. But anyway, it's opened with the title company or the escrow company or attorneys. Different states have different people who handle the closings. So I'll just say the closing person for the generic. It's exactly the same if you bought it from John Doe Century 21 brokerage and it was in the multiple listing book. You make an agreement. There's usually a good faith deposit. It tends to differ from state to state or area to area. Usually 3% of the purchase price is a good faith deposit. Then you take it to the closing people, and then if you go after a new loan or the estate carries back the loan, and they settle everything just like you would if there was a loan. You're buying my house. If there's a loan on it, that'll be settled in the closing. Transfer fees, all the taxes, the proration of all the insurance, all the wonderful stuff. It's exactly the same. And for that reason, there is never a title problem when you buy a property through probate, because you don't close unless you have free and clear title. And that is not true in foreclosure. People buy foreclosures, then they go to sell it. They didn't get a title. Yeah. So, and the title insurance company says, you don't have clear title. We can't give you title. Who's going to buy something that doesn't have title insurance with it? Anyway, we have none of those problems in probate because the closing is exactly the same as if you were buying it from a real estate broker.
So you say, like, on average, it shouldn't take longer than 6 months, right? But you're saying, like, in many situations, what could prolong this process? Say you get involved, like, you meet a family, they're like, I want to sell it to you, let's go ahead and do it. Everything gets set up, but then what type of pitfalls should investors be aware of, or at least ask questions about, so they know, like, okay, let's be proactive. If there's a lien on this part, let's take care of that. If there's this and this and that. So title doesn't take.
That's all done by the closing company.
Okay, so
most of the people who see this go to title companies. The back of the title company does closings. The front issues title insurance.
Okay.
There's other states that have lawyers, and Southern California, for example, has escrow companies, which I still think is the best way to do it.
So let's
ask the question one more time. No, there's two answers to your question. I want to remember what the question was exactly.
Okay, so I'm trying to remember my question now. I have all these questions I want to ask you. I think what.
Oh, time.
Oh yeah, the amount of time it takes.
The time it takes
to clear title,
is
right?
The same as it would take if you were buying it from a real estate broker.
Okay.
Most closings take anywhere from 30 to 90 days, so randomly 45 to 60 days. The buyer recommends the time that they want to close in. Now, on the other side of the aisle, the attorney will tell the estate, the heirs, and the personal representative, we have one more form to file, and that is a blatant lie.
Okay. But
it keeps them extending so they can get the money to make that Mercedes payment to their girlfriend.
Gotcha. Are you speaking from
whatever the buyer wants, just as if they were buying? The only unique thing about probate is if you do it correctly, you can buy it before anybody on the world knows it's for sale. These are not listed. They're not published. The address is not in print. There is no better way to buy real estate than probate. End of conversation.
What do you think is the quickest way, to position yourself to be the first, to not have competition, to, anytime something like this happens, you're one of the first people that are in line? Like, what would you say needs to happen in order to be that person?
You've got to be familiar with somebody who's created a good system on how to do that.
Okay.
And I invented the probate investment system back in the mid-'80s.
That's right. So I know I talked to Jim about this before. I know, the past 6-7 years of me working at REIClub, we worked with a not even a handful, I think one or two other probate people. And Jim was like, yeah, they were probably my students at one point, because obviously you've been doing this for a long time. So one thing I wanted to cover as well, Jim, is, with probates, what would you say that, the top ways are to really get in the good graces of these executors, these people who are making decisions on the assets, who are probably grieving, what would you say the best ways are to, be that person they want to talk to?
Well, first of all, we want to be, the theme of my system has always been the early bird gets the worm. So we want to be the first one there, and we want to help them solve problems. They may not know at that point in time that they have problems, but they do. Anybody who is burdened with being a personal representative really wants to strangle the person who named them, because they sell it as an honor, but it's really a burden. How many people, including yourself, have enough time that you sit at home on the nights or on the weekends twiddling your thumb because everything you want to do is done? Okay, now, of course, the answer is zero. Now, on top of that burden, now you have to oversee, and you are fiduciarily responsible for the distribution of all the assets in that estate. It is a burden. We are there to help them. We don't practice law. You go to jail for doing that, but we can help them. We want to be their friend. We want to help them. And the way we do that, and I'm primarily real estate, although I've gotten cars, antiques, I got a Wurlitzer jukebox. The 57 T-Bird in American Graffiti, I bought that out of a probate.
Oh, wow.
But anyway, we are there to help the estate. So we want to become the best friend of whoever the PR is. We want to help them, and we really do want to help them.
Right.
Because we're going to be paid very, very well for helping these people out.
So, again, just to touch up on that real quick, you mentioned getting paid very well for it. Like in wholesale deals, as you know, as the middleman, as the investor, sometimes the seller can find out how much the buyer can know how much the middleman is making. Is that the similar situation with probates? Do they know how much you're making off their estate, or, is that something that doesn't have to be disclosed?
No, it doesn't have to be disclosed because we're not doing anything shady.
Right. Okay.
And especially the beginner investor needs to know this. This has been true for over 100 years. It's true in any negotiation, but especially in real estate. The person who quotes price first loses.
Person who quotes price first loses. In sales, most sales are negotiation.
So if we go in there, we've done our homework. We know what it would be worth in mint condition, because that's easy to find. And so as we look at the property, we figure out how much it's going to cost to make that, or make that change. But we let them tell us what they want for the property.
Okay.
Then we can make an adjustment if we want to buy it or not.
And most of the time, just from your experience, these people who are in charge, do they generally know what the house is worth?
These are not real estate investors. Okay. And when you include the personal property, who knows everything there is to know about jewelry, antiques? One thing, whenever you go into an antique store, everything in that antique store came out of probate. Because an antique has to be 100 years old, so they're not making any new antiques. Everything's in there. Cars, antiques, boats, planes, trains, stock, everything is in there.
So I've never done a probate myself. So when you're dealing with the home and all its everything that's underneath the roof, is it all still in that house, or is it like all removed, put in a storage facility? How is it taken care of usually?
Well, all the above is possible, but it's been my experience over 35 years. Almost, if you're getting there first, the house is still full of everything. And since the big ticket item is the house, and I alluded to that earlier, often when I buy the house, they say, back then, before eBay and that kind of stuff, I said, don't worry about it. I'll clean it out. And we did, because I didn't know anybody collected teacups. So we just brought a big dumpster and hired some laborers and threw everything away. But now everything's sold. But everything will be in there. And they don't want to bother with it. They do not want to bother with it. They want their free money, and that's what they want more than anything else.
Yeah. So when you come through, are you bringing like a jeweler with you? Are you bringing a car expert like they do on Storage Wars?
No,
Okay.
I'm not a big personal property person.
Okay.
But I mean, cars, we all have a feel for what a car is worth.
Right.
But I don't want personal property. I'm a real estate investor and broker. I wanted to say something.
Yeah.
I'll come back later, I'm sure.
No, it's okay. Yeah. So in that case, are you just, other than the obvious big objects and things like that, are you just throwing everything else away?
I'll have like the estate sale that if I bought the property, then in order to get rid of it, I might very well have an estate sale
And just have people come through
and just have come through. There are estate companies out there who will do, or companies who will do that and price everything, and they want a big piece of the pie. You look at it as free money. It helps get some of the stuff out of there. The rest you give to Goodwill. You get a little tax write-off.
Right.
They changed the rules on that now. It's not what it used to be on gift giving. And I do want to say this, since a couple of things. One, a real estate 101. There are 75 million homeowners in America. 24 million of those are free and clear. There's no loans on them. Those tend to be the people who are older, and those tend to be people who die in our probates. It's been my experience when that happens, about 35% of the time, they will carry back the loan. Instead of going to Bank of America or Wells Fargo or Citibank, you will make the payment to the estate of Mary Jones. Because not everybody needs money. They would rather have it. The example I use is there was a Soul Air on one I did. The lady was 85. She didn't want $100,000. She was only concerned with income stream the rest of her life. And then we solved her problem. We are a problem-solving investment group.
And I think we've mentioned that before in the past, and I would show you right now, like the storage on this video is running low, so we may cut out and then come right back on with like the ending of the video, just so people know. But we always tell people when it comes to probates, because we're dealing with such a sensitive topic, to really position yourself almost in a more empathetic position. You know, the more empathy you show and not really try to avoid being a vulture is what I'm trying to say, is avoid being a vulture. So let me just cover up maybe one or two more things that are important to people, which are like paperwork wise. Are you coming in with like a contract, or are you coming in with some kind of promissory note? You know, what kind of paperwork is involved to get your PR, like, you know, that person agreed with you, so they're only working with you?
You can use, no, yes and no, because it's a multi-level question.
Okay.
I don't have anything other than a contract, and I walk in with a blank sheet of paper, and I know nobody else is going to do that, and that's fine. But in order to be a contract, you only need 5 elements to make it a contract: a starting date, a closing date, consideration, description, and a signature. So, but you can go to your UPS store, and they have what is the legalese contract forms. You want to keep it simple. You do not want to walk in with a contract that's got a lot of small print in it. Makes the hair stand up on the back of their neck. And that's why I go in with a blank sheet of paper, because that's all that's required to be a legal contract. As in a probate, you're going to have to buy it as is in every state and parish. There's no exception, because the guy can't guarantee anything because he's dead. So he can't guarantee you what happened.
Right. Okay.
So you buy a homeowner's policy, or the homeowner's policy when you buy it, to protect you on anything that doesn't work, and you can pass it on to your buyer if you're flipping the property.
So you can flip probate houses? I
have, yes.
Okay, so you can flip it.
I have a tough time with management of properties.
So I got you. So I completely understand. I completely understand. You got people who like to flip. You got people who like the cash flow. To each his own. The last thing is, this is one question that's been looming around me for a while, is, you know, with most properties, when someone passes away in the home, you have to disclose that, right?
In some states.
Okay, in some states.
For example, yes in California, no in Nevada.
I think in Texas we for sure have to. We have to disclose. So it's okay. I didn't know that. So it depends on where you are.
It's a states' rights issue. Probate is a states' rights issue.
Okay.
There's no federal probate court.
Would you recommend those who have to include that information to either stay away from those properties?
No.
So okay.
Not at all.
So from your experience, you never had to deal with a potential buyer who's like, ooh, like someone passed away in this house. That's kind of weird, or that's kind of scary. I don't like ghosts, you know, things like that.
No. And in California, they got a lot of people like that.
Okay.
But if you want to sell it quick, if you're buying a dollar for 50, 60 cents, you can sell it for 90, 85, 90 cents, even 95 cents, and you're not going to have any trouble finding a buyer.
Right. Interesting.
I'll say a couple of things just for all investors, and especially the beginning investor. Instead of going out there, I've been to lectures where they say, well, how many properties did you buy? The object is not to buy properties. The object is to make money. And if you're buying 50 cents on the dollar, you're making money. You don't have to buy it for 90 cents on the dollar and hope that it appreciates, that inflation goes nuts and your house, your property goes faster than inflation. This is the best way for the beginning investor and all investors to make money. You have an equity position from the get-go.
And I think that's really the important thing I want everybody to focus on here is every time we talk about probates, you know, the amount of interest level is kind of 50-50. I've seen an increase over the past few months, maybe the past few years, Jim. And what we're talking about here is everybody's asking, you know, like, how do I get involved in real estate? You know, I like wholesaling. I'm trying to make fast cash, or, oh, I need to do lease options or rental properties, rehabs, all these things on TV on, you know, these houses are teaching these people everything but probate. You know, like it blows my mind how something so profitable, or there's so much inventory, people are just overlooking it. So I really want you guys to focus on this topic, and Jim has been very passionate with the talks that we've had. As you can see, the amount of interest he has with this topic here with you guys, to really evaluate probates as a potential investment opportunity for yourself. It sounds very similar to a process of wholesaling or a foreclosure property. You know, you're dealing with a potential seller, and you have to make sure the asset is good to go, if there's no liens or anything like that. You're still dealing with a
No, you don't care about the liens.
Yeah,
that's covered by your escrow, by your
title company.
Title company for most people.
So, and ideally, you got to. All you're really doing is making sure you got the funds, make sure you find the deal, and that you can close quickly without any.
Or you can get the loan.
Get the loan. So let's
talk about motivated sellers, divorce, foreclosure. There is nothing greater than a motivated seller who's getting free money. So real quick. And it makes it sound like a vulture. We all know that 70% of the people who win lotteries, all over $1 million, well over in the millions of dollars, are flat broke within 3 years. The beneficiary of life insurance policies, according to the insurance industry, is within 3.5 years, they will squander every penny as the beneficiary of a life insurance policy. So it makes no difference if we give them $100,000 or $150,000. In 90 days, they will squander every penny, and nothing in the world is going to change that.
So let's touch on that real quick. You know, touch on a point you just made a few minutes ago about the loans, acquiring the funds. Are banks familiar with you? Are you telling them, hey, I want to buy a probate property, or do they only care about the numbers?
No, I just bring the deal in.
Gotcha.
And this is a true story. This was a long time ago. Took the deal in. And the bank refused the deal. And so I went back and I said, why? He says, well, it's because something's fishy because you're buying this property for half of its value.
Right. That sounds like a bank thing.
Couldn't make that up.
Yeah.
I go, are you nuts? That's why I bought it, you moron.
Yeah. Like, that's why you're sitting in that chair and I'm sitting in this chair making the lion's share. So that's interesting. So, you know, so are they giving you like a 50% LTV, or like what is it then? Since you're buying it so cheap, like how are you approaching the banks with these deals? It's just like
it was only one time.
Okay.
I said, I know what I'm doing.
So is there a way to do these without going through the bank? Can you like find?
No, I'm just talking about for those who go after a loan.
Yeah.
You had said, and it might be misunderstood, especially by beginning investors, you don't have to have all the funds. You don't have to have money, but you have to have access to it. You can partner up on these deals. You know, you don't have to have all the money. If you're buying a dollar for 50 cents, you can go to an investment club and say, here's the deal. Don't give them the address. I'm buying this property for 50 cents on the dollar. We have a little contract says that you can't cut my throat and go behind me and get this deal, just so you protect yourself, because the public's not as nice as it used to be.
Absolutely.
So you don't have to have money to make money. But if you have good credit, you can get a new loan. We are cashing out the estate, but we're not writing a check, and I'll just say $100,000 property. We're not writing a check for $100,000.
Right.
FHA is what, 3-4% down?
So, you know, it seems like there's a lot of opportunity here, Jim. And
I think it's the greatest way to make real estate, bar none.
Before we give out, I know that people may probably have questions. You know, I got excited about this topic when I first found out about it, and the more and more I talk to you about it, I think there's just tremendous opportunity here. You know, like people say, you know, why would you want to be a pediatric doctor or an orthopedic surgeon? Well, one, there's always going to be babies born. Two, there's always going to be old people, right? So, and then in the probates, people are always passing away. It's the hard, cold, hard truth, and the truth is, you know, I hate saying it like this, but it's you know, there is opportunity here. It's just about how you approach it, and hopefully, you know, with a lot of things we talked about today, you're really going to start taking this as a serious opportunity for yourself. Now, Jim, you know, doing this for 35 years, you definitely have had your share of, you know, pitfalls and learning experiences. What would be the best advice you would give to someone who, after watching this, are like, I'm interested? What would you tell them, you know, how to get started, the basics, you know, what you learned of the School of Hard Knocks?
Real quick, last year, over 2.5 million people died in America, and I didn't have anything to do with one of those deaths. Secondly, there is all kinds of real estate in probate: commercial, industrial, raw land, agricultural land, farmland, ranch land, everything. So it's not just personal residential. Bingo. There was one other thing, but that escapes me. Don't be afraid of probate. It's the fear of the unknown. Attorneys only have to take one course, heirs and wills and estates, and it is easy as making an omelet. That's how difficult probate is. Don't be afraid of it. Anyway, I think you'd asked me to give an email address.
Yeah. So for all those out there who, you know, may have questions or would like to get in hold of Jim, we like to make sure you can get in contact with the people we're talking to as well. We don't like to create any kind of iron veil or things where you can't, you know, get to these people, because your questions are very important to us. We want to make sure you're moving forward in your investment career. So with that, you know, Jim, how can people get a hold of you? You know, if they have any more questions, go ahead and provide that information. That'd be great.
It's Jim@JimBanksProbate.net.
Say that again one more time.
Jim@JimBanksProbate.net.
Okay, perfect.
I've done the chances, there are people out there, I'm sure, who've been involved in probate a little longer than I have, but there's not a chance of any of these viewers ever meeting them.
Oh, man. I'm so glad that you took the time today, Jim, to be with us and really talk about probates. I'm already in conversations with Jim on having him back on and talk about other areas of his business, his expertise. Again, he's been doing this for 35 years, tons of knowledge on this, and he's been so gracious to volunteer his time and his expertise to really educate you guys. You guys are really the reason why we do these videos, and we really hope you enjoy it. So, you know, don't be shy. You know, feel free to leave a comment in this video. Let us know what you thought. You know, give us your opinions. We'll do our best to answer them in the comment section. You know, reach out to Jim if you have any specific questions about maybe a probate your deal you're working on. You know, maybe there's something he can help you with there. But ideally, you know, REI Club, we're trying to be the main information source for you when it comes to doing deals, getting your questions answered, and really becoming more educated as an investor. So, you know, with that being said, I want to go ahead and bring our call to a conclusion. We had you guys just on for about an hour, so I do thank you for your time. Shoot us a like. You know, we do appreciate that. It really does help our YouTube channel, of course. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to our YouTube channel so we can keep you informed anytime a new video like this is posted. Again, guys, thank you so much. We look forward to talking to you next time. Take care, good investing, and bye-bye, everyone.
Thank you. Thanks, Frank.
Yeah, take care. Yep.